Do you know a country that was in the news yesterday because it plans to move its country to Metaverse? Yes, the country is Tuvalu, a country in the Oceania region whose territory is almost submerged by the sea due to climate change problem. I'm Mohamad Arya from the 6C Public Administration Department. I will explain a little about Tuvalu to all of you. Located in the central Pacific Ocean, Tuvalu is one of the world's smallest independent states in terms of land area and population. Tuvalu is a low-lying nation comprised of 9 atolls and reef islands, and it's classified as a least developed country because Tuvalu is an average of 3 m above mean sea level. It is majorly affected by climate change and sea level rise and is seen as lacking many of natural resources that support development in other nations. Thus, in international and bilateral setting, climate change and Tuvalu economic development tend to dominate policy discussion. What is perhaps not as often discussed is the vibrant culture, innovative spirit, and strong community ethos Tuvalu has developed, both because of and despite its harsh living condition, as well as the flexibility and ability to react quickly and effectively in time of crisis afforded by Tuvalu's small size. Tuvalu was previously known as the Ellis Island under the Gilbert and Ellis Island, a British colony that merged Tuvalu and its neighbor Kiribati from 1892 to 1976. In the 1960s, the United Nations adopted the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and People. This was part of a wider movement in many colonies toward independence from colonial power that started in the 20th century. In 1975, and as part of this trend, Tuvalu separated from Kiribati, which represented the majority culture in the Gilbert and Ellis Island colony. At the time, separation from Kiribati was seen as the only means for Tuvalu to preserve its unique culture and value. Today, Tuvalu maintains close ties with Kiribati but has also emerged as a robust independent actor in the Pacific, an achievement many in the 1970s, though impossible given Tuvalu's size and limited resource. On 1 October in 1978, Tuvalu became an independent sovereign state. It gained full membership in United Nations and the Commonwealth of Nations in September 2000. Aside from this organization, Tuvalu is also an active member of international bodies such as the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, Alliance of Small Island States, ASEAN Development Bank, International Monetary Fund, International Maritime Organization, World Bank, and World Health Organization. Regionally, Tuvalu belongs to the Pacific Island Forum and all Council of Regional Organizations of the Pacific agencies. Given Tuvalu numbers international and regional commitment, a formal foreign policy is critical to the nation forward movement. Now, I will introduce you to the Te Sipulagi, which has been the main foreign policy agenda of the country of Tuvalu since 2020. Foreign policy is synonymous with the behavioral of state. Nation issue foreign policies to direct their goal for interaction with other nations and foreign population. They highlight key area of consideration for foreign engagement that align with national interests, but that also extend national interests across the globe. Foreign policy can provide a door, a voice, or a way out for domestic policy and can allow major national issue to align with and even become global concern. However, prevailing ideas on foreign policy typically paint international affairs and diplomacy as solely fueled by competition and national interests. which can be detrimental to relationship building in today's interconnected world and to creating a sustainable future for the global community. Given this, the Tuvalu foreign policy adopt a strong vision rooted in today's interconnected context and geared toward changing the behavior of state within this context. The follow foreign policy is guided by three main agendas that highlight consensus and global well-being rather than competition and self-interest. It is first value-based, region-oriented, and future-looking. The first point about values-based. In recognizing that foreign affairs has traditionally been driven by Western diplomatic concepts that fail to account for the cultural value of Pacific Island countries. This policy underscores to follow distinct cultural traits to ensure that the nation diplomacy is truly Tuvaluan in essence. It proposes a paradigm shift where ideas of Tuvalu as vulnerable, financially incapable, and small are balanced with recognition of the innovation, creativity, and strength that have emerged from this disadvantage. Currently, we are living in the time of panel discussion in preparation for the 2022 follow foreign policy, a new world order, where increased interdependence has highlighted the idea that no single nation can address issue on its own. We see this interconnectedness with climate change and the impact of COVID-19. Tuvaluan values are informed by Tuvalu interdependent communal context, consensus-driven society, and Christian faith. Thus, in the international arena, the Tuvalu foreign policy from a Tuvaluan value as uniquely suited to ensuring the well-being of today's interconnected global community and encouraging nations to uphold their responsibilities to maintain this well-being. The next point is region-oriented. Tuvalu looks to Pacific regionalism as an overreaching aspiration under the TFP and sees the Blue Pacific movement as have the potential to build a regional bloc similar like the Europe. Thus, in the TFP, Tuvalu strive to form a more united Blue Pacific region. Pacific fisheries are one example where Pacific regionalism and coordination have been highly effective and to the benefit of Pacific people. For COVID-19, on the other hand, a coordinated regional response was initially difficult because transnational protocols for handling the crisis were not fully in place when it occurred. Indicates that necessity to be future-looking in moving to build a stronger and more prepared regional body. And the next point is future-looking, whether in handling diaspora issues, health matter, or regional initiative, that TFP strive to be future-looking rather than the waiting for pandemic like the COVID-19 crisis or any number of climate-related disasters to strike. Tuvalu will prepare in advance by strengthening bilateral, regional, diaspora, and other non-domestic network to ensure that in any scenario the nation is never isolated, unprepared, or without a firm plan of action. Furthermore, instead of prioritizing short-term economic priorities, Tuvalu will always advocate global well-being as the will truly ensure a sustainable future for all people. In enacting the TFP, the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, under the Ministry of Justice, Communication, and Foreign Affairs, is the main implementing entity, with the department organizational and policy structure outlined in Annex. Number one, the DFA offer a new direction, a new paradigm toward achieving tangible objective and Tuvalu engage participation in foreign affairs both at home and abroad. The TFP outlined a broad guiding principle that direct Tuvalu practice of foreign affairs while also setting out specific objective diplomat, official, and the government of Tuvalu strive to achieve. The policy will enhance the strengthened partnership and relationship between the government of Tuvalu, stakeholder, and the public in terms of foreign affairs development. On Wednesday, 27 October, mark the official national launching of Tuvalu Future Now project or the Atayone project in Tuvaluan, a new initiative by the Ministry of Justice, Communication and Foreign Affairs. The project takes a proactive stance toward what has been highlighted as the potential worst-case scenario for Tuvalu under climate change. Tuvalu treated disappearance as sea level rise and land are submerged. In full disclosure, as the Minister for Tuvalu Ministry of Justice, Communication and Foreign Affairs, I have a vested interest in promoting in future no project. However, the launching is the project has prompted me to further reflect on its three major initiatives: promoting value-based diplomacy, ensuring the permanency of statehood and maritime boundaries despite the effect of sea level rise, and building a digital nation. And what they say about Tuvalu, climate change, and Pacific regionalism. The project first initiative promote diplomacy based on Tuvaluan value of Olaga Fakafenua or communal living system, Kaitasi, shared responsibility, and Falepili being good neighbor, in the hope that this value will motivate other nations to understand their shared responsibility to address climate change and sea level rise to achieve global well-being. A value or culture-based approach to diplomacy is not new for Tuvalu and is well reflected in the country 2020 foreign policy, Tesikulagi, recent academic projects on oceanic diplomacy, which explore the diplomatic practice and principle that have come out of the diverse culture of the Pacific, suggest a similar and more regionally focused appetite for this approach to international relations. From a high-level conceptual perspective, Tuvalu hoped that by proactively asserting its communal value system within international diplomacy, there is an opportunity to reverse the inward-looking and nation-centered approaches that have allowed climate change to so decisively take hold of and threaten us all. The second and third initiative under the Future Now project are the more pragmatic ones. Although Tuvalu stand against relocation as a solution to climate crisis, in seeking to be proactive and practical, the project respond directly to the question, what will Tuvalu do if its land territory is lost to sea level rise? Consequently, the project's second initiative pursue domestic, regional, and international legal avenue to ensure that should Tuvalu land territory be lost to sea level rise, Tuvalu existing maritime boundaries and claim will remain intact and Tuvalu will still be recognized as sovereign. Whereas the first initiative is dependent on an optimistic view of global community that will come together to combat climate change in recognition of the importance of Tuvaluan values. The second realizes the very real possibility that Tuvalu may not be able to wait for the world to get its act together to solve the thorny issues of statehood and territory under climate change. This again aligned with move at the regional level. Domestically, Tuvalu has already begun using new joint communication when establishing diplomatic relations that provide for bilateral recognition of Tuvalu statehood and maritime boundaries as permanent. Regionally, leader of the Pacific Island Forum have this year Inc., which seek to ensure that forum member maritime zone cannot be challenged or reduced in the face of climate change. Obviously, Pacific nation will always work at the international level to gain global consensus on climate change solution. But there is also clear realization that bold steps must be taken at the national and regional level now. Waiting for others to resolve the legal and political unknown climate change has caused for those treated with land loss is not an option. The third initiative under the Future Now project is similarly pragmatic and comes as an extension of work under the second initiative. The third initiative under the Future Now project is similarly pragmatic and come as an extension of work under the second initiative. It looks more at the question, what will Tuvalu do if it gain recognition of its statehood as permanent, but its land territory is lost to sea level rise? Basically, how will Tuvalu continue to function as a nation with no land here? The solution is to rapidly adopt innovative digital tools and platforms and build a digital nation. This will involve creating a digital government administrative system that could, in the very worst case scenario, allow Tuvalu to shift its government operation to other location and continue to fully function as sovereign state. It also look forward national effort to preserve and digitize historical document, record of cultural practice, and other important texts, image, or multimedia that should be protected in the face of climate disaster. And the idea to go digital is not isolated to Tuvalu alone. There have, of course, been efforts throughout the Pacific toward digital transformation, although Tuvalu may be among the first to link the effort to climate mobility. Tuvalu Future Now project and its link to Pacific Regional Initiative reflect to phenomena in advocacy on climate change for those countries most affected by this threat. Number one, view to continue work toward influencing and shaping the mindset of the global community on climate action, while clearly signaling that those most affected by climate change are more than willing to take bold steps by themselves to help themselves. And number two, recognition that as the dire and encasing impact of climate change become more and more clear, there must be immediate movement to develop innovative solutions in the face of extreme worst case scenarios. The tagline for the Future Now project reads, preparing today to secure tomorrow as a reflection of both phenomena. Maybe that's all the brief explanation I can give. What do you think about whether moving state activities to a digital platform is the right decision? Let's discuss in together more later. Thank you.